Plaintiff Quarterman Lee is suing his ex-wife, Sandra, for bail money and bounced checks. Quarterman says he bailed his ex-wife out of jail twice after she was arrested for writing bad checks. However, Sandra says she was falsely arrested the second time, and she insists she has paid her ex-husband back in full.
Today, the plaintiff is suing his ex-wife for bail money and bounced checks. Quarterman Lee?
Yes.
Against Sandra Diane Lee. Quarterman, why are we here today?
Well, Your Honor, Sandra owes me a lot of money, and all I've been getting is excuses and promises that never come true, and then more promises to replace the promises that didn't come true before. And
how long are you divorced?
About 7 years.
Okay, and when were these debts incurred?
3-4 months ago. Well, most of it was 3 or 4 months ago. The other was about a year, maybe a year and a half.
How much money would you say your ex-wife owes you?
$3,000. $3,000.
Okay. All right, let's talk about it.
Your Honor, that's not true. Okay. I had paid him back the bail money. As a matter of fact,
what bail money?
2 years ago, I was falsely arrested. And there was a insufficient funds check, a bounce check, and I paid that back, and I paid it in full, and I was falsely arrested. And so he.
Were you falsely arrested before or after the check bounced?
No. It was all behind me. I was making the final payment, and
then you were arrested
at the courthouse.
Okay, you were arrested at the courthouse. You're making the final payment to whom?
It was for car repairs. Anyhow, the point that I was making, Your Honor, is I had paid him back.
Okay, what did he paid bail money for you? Mm-hmm. How much?
It was $1,000.
All right, $1,000 bail money. And that was for when you were falsely arrested, as you say.
It was in September 2006.
Just to clarify, this was the second time I bailed her out of jail.
When's the first time?
When she had written the check to begin with, and the car dealer had attempted to collect for at least a year, maybe longer. He finally turned it over to the district attorney, and she ended up in jail that time.
You were in jail before then, too?
That was the original time, the first time. And
okay, and what year was that?
That was in 2002.
2002. So what were you arrested for then?
I was arrested because I wrote a check, and it didn't clear my bank. It was a bounce check.
All right. And he bailed you out?
Yes.
And he bailed you out again?
Right, and both times.
And you're divorced at this point?
Right.
And both times you promised to pay him back?
And I did pay him back.
Okay.
Both times.
Well, I do believe that she paid me back for the first time, but the second time she paid me only part of that amount.
And it was $1,000 the second time?
Yes, and she still owes me
What proof do you have of what you paid and what she paid you? What proof do you have of what you paid him?
I don't have the evidence with me.
Why?
I paid him in cash. Both times.
You're having a lot of trouble with money, I could tell already. Don't you know enough to at least write a check as opposed to giving cash, or are you convinced you're going to bounce?
That has been corrected.
Well, that's good, but what I'm asking you is how are you going to prove what you paid him?
Well, the point that I'm making is he brought up the fact that I had already paid him. And I said, no, I don't think I paid all of it, but he couldn't remember how much I paid him and when. He knew that I'd given him money. On 2 different occasions.
Do you remember how much she paid you, Quarterman?
No, I don't. But
so how do you know what to sue for?
Well,
precisely.
because she told me in an email here.
This is a first. I am here in court because the defendant told me that she owes me money. Have you ever heard that one, Jimmy?
Never.
That's a first.
Precisely my point.
Well,
you may still lose, so don't be so proud of yourself.
No.
Well, Your Honor, my point, the bail money is only a small part. To the best of my knowledge, she owes me $600 for the bail.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there's the other matter of $2,400. And
what's that for?
At the end of March, she came to me, and she'd been evicted from her house that she was renting, and she'd made arrangements to move into another house. Mm-hmm. But the landlord wouldn't let her in unless she had cash or a certified check. And she said she needed the money. And so she asked me to write her a check for $1,200. And the deal was that if I would do that, and in addition, if I would pay the child support, which was owing about that same time of $600, and then pay an advance on the child support, then she would have the money to pay the $1,200 back to me.
Okay, now, as crazy as it is, I get it. How old is the child of this union?
He's 14. First of all, he was behind in his child support. All I was asking him was to pay the money that he owed me anyway.
To be current.
He owed me $1,200.
Okay.
On March 31st of 2008, he owed me $1,200. Because that was what I was counting on for the security deposit. Okay? So I contacted him around the 5th of March.
To say, I want my child support money.
He was 2 months behind. And I asked him...
Had you gone to court?
No. They only remind him if it comes on 2 months behind. So it was exactly 2 months behind. It would have been exactly 2 months on April 1st.
Okay, so you asked him for him to be, current on the child support.
That's all I was asking.
Okay, did he give you money?
He couldn't get the child support in by the 31st. He said, tell you what, I'll write you a check for $1,200.
Right.
That's the money that I owe you. And then when I do send the child support in, I want you to write me a check. So when I do send the child support in, then I will get that money back. Because he's going to have to pay it twice.
Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense, but it's not true.
Very big distinction. What's your version?
It is true.
To begin with, the child support is handled by the state of Kansas, and all the payments go through that center.
Your wages are garnished?
Pardon?
Are your wages garnished?
No, but if I don't have the payment in by the 11th of every month, they send me a notice that month. They don't wait 2 months. And I was not behind at the time.
Okay.
All of this occurred about the 30th of March, and there was a $600 payment due on the 1st
of April.
Right.
Do you have any paperwork you can give me?
Yes.
Show me.
Okay. First, I have 2 checks that Sandra wrote to me.
You wrote him checks for what?
This is what he proposed to do. He said, I can't get the child support in like I said I would. So could you write me a check for $1,200?
Why are you writing him a check when he owes you money?
Because he was advancing me the money.
Well, so how are you writing him a check before he advances you the money?
Because he's basically paying me twice. He's going to have to send it into the state of Kansas, but he's given it to me first.
Right.
So he's basically giving me $2,400. And then I wrote him a check for the $1,200. So then he would get his money back.
Okay, but your check's bounced.
That's right.
Do you want to see him?
I know they bounced. I was the one that alerted him to the fact that they weren't going to clear. He had no
What's
awareness.
with you and checks?
Oh, Your Honor, that's behind me. Yes, this is an example.
This is in front of me.
Well, this is an example of 2 recent experiences, but I'm on time with my rent.
So far.
Well, I'm on time with my
1,
rent.
2, 3, 4. Right? The car, you bought the car in 2002, and then you had a problem in 2006.
2006, I paid my obligation. I paid that off.
All right.
It was a 0 balance at the time I was arrested. It was a mistake.
Okay.
This is also a mistake. And I alerted him. I tried to make amends. And set up a payment plan to get him his money as soon as possible. He wouldn't accept it. He wouldn't accept
a check. How about money order?
No, I told him I wasn't going to give him a check. I wanted to give him a cashier's check.
That was smart. Sooner or later, they're coming for you again. You keep writing these checks.
I don't write those checks.
Okay.
I did this time, but I didn't even want to do that. In the beginning, all I wanted to do was to pay his child support. Then we wouldn't have been in this mess. If he would have just paid it.
So it's all his fault that you're bouncing checks?
No, it's not his fault. What's his fault is being behind. I was counting on it being in by that time. It wasn't.
That I understand.
That's my fault.
I'll give you that. You were counting on the money being there.
But this was a mistake.
This is more than a mistake. This is criminal. You know that, right?
Yes.
You keep writing checks on an account with insufficient funds. The law looks at it as though you're writing checks on a closed account. That is a crime. It's against the law. It's the kind of thing where they put you in cuffs. They take you to jail. All right? You got to stop doing that. You're a lovely lady. I don't want you doing that anymore. It's not a question of stopping,
Your Honor. I don't do it. I didn't even want to do it.
You got to stop because you were doing it. Now, Quarterman.
Yes.
What does she owe you?
$2,400 for the 2 checks and $600 for the bail. We have here an email that she sent to me where she says, the other $600 was from 2 years ago, and I will give that to you soon after the above 2 payments are resolved. That's the $600 bail money, and that's why the $600 is in the lawsuit.
What do you think?
I agree Your Honor, that I do owe him the $2,400. And I wanted to resolve this issue, and he wouldn't accept payments. He wouldn't accept. I said, I want to give you a cashier's check, so we have documentation that it's been taken care of, so we're not unsure as to what's been paid and what hasn't. and he wouldn't accept that. And this was in June.
Is that true? That's yes or no.
Yes, it's true.
Quarterman, so you're looking for $3,000, 24 plus 6.
Yes.
You can't prove that 6. She can't
That's right.
prove that she paid more than 4 anyway, and you're only admitting to having gotten 4. I think, Sandra, you are a lovely woman. And Quarterman, you're okay too. I think, Sandra, that I think you have a problem. The problem that is there is that you are continuing to spend money that you don't have, whether it's for a car, whether it's to pay him back, or whether it's for rent, or I don't know what it is. But you know what? Everybody's got living expenses. And it seems to me that a woman as smart as you are and as lovely as you are is somewhat responsible, but is totally lost in the area of money and debting. Mm-hmm. And I think that what you've got to do is recognize that you've got a problem and that maybe you ought to look into an organization called Debtors Anonymous, mm-hmm. where people are continuously spending money that they don't have. They're continuously charging up credit cards, which in today's day and age is very much a part of the economy, which is going to hell in a handbasket. But in addition to that, you've got to be aware and cognizant of how much money you have to spend. Mm-hmm. How much can I spend on food, on rent, on a car? Because if you keep writing checks like this, you're going to get arrested even more than you've been arrested in the past.
Your Honor,
I think that there are signs of compulsive debting, and I think that there's a telephone number that you need to have that someone will give you when you go outside. It's called Debtors Anonymous. It's 800-421-2383, and the email is office@debtorsanonymous.org. You've got to look into this organization. It may help you. You're lucky that you were married at one time to a man as kind as Quarterman, but at the end of the day, he's got the right to sue you. He's entitled to sue you, and I'm going to award the verdict to the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.